What was the biggest lie you believed? I had dumped some gasoline in an Arizona tea bottle to get a fire started. My sister seen me pour it on fire and she freaked thinking Arizona iced tea was flammable. I went along with it saying, "Yeah, you didn't know that? That's why it's called Arizona, because how hot it gets there." She was 20 years old. Around 5 years later we are camping and she says, "Who's got some Arizona I can use to start this campfire?" I looked at Fair and didn't understand. She explained I told her it's flammable. I had no recollection. She says she has been telling everyone for the last 5 years how bad it is for you and how flammable it is. You just started a rumor that should be pre-internet. As a kid before internet, this is some shit that would spread like Arizona tea wildfire. My dad got sick of having to listen to the kids shows I watched as a child, so he told me that the Power Rangers and Barney the dinosaur died in the car crash with Princess Diana. So I couldn't watch them anymore. I didn't actually question it until I was quite old, embarrassingly. Jesus. We just tell our kids Cocomelon is broken on the TV. As a little kid, Dad told me that there was a Greek god of sex called fellatio. I'd never heard the word before. Then, freshman year of high school, took a mythology class and asked the teacher, in class, why we hadn't talked about fellatio. Silence. You know, the god of sex? I'm cringing hard just typing this out. Got a nice little talk after class and Dad almost peed his pants laughing that night. One of the main jobs every father has is to teach their children to be critical of anything said by an authority figure. Our family were poor and lived in a house where the ceiling plaster had bowed so much that it bowed down, bulging out. My dad told me that there was a World War II bomb buried in the ceiling. Believed it for years, absolutely terrified the entire time. And if you make too much noise the bomb will fall and explode. That acne would only be a problem when I was a teenager. Oh, yes. Mine has mostly cleared up in the last 3 years though. But I'm almost 47. Had acne bad until I was in my 30s and mild until about 43. I never had acne as a teenager and suddenly started getting bad breakouts in my 30s. Super fun because I never had to learn how to deal with it before. That you need a license for children's parties. That was the reason why I never had a party when I was little growing up. You need to get a license from the post office, but there's only a certain amount of licenses available for that area. When I was very young we had a pet hamster. He got out of his cage, so my dad put the cage in the basement thinking he might get hungry and get back in. One morning I woke up and there was the hamster in his cage in the usual place. I asked my mom how they found him and she told me she opened the door to the cellar and there he was dragging his cage back upstairs. It wasn't until I was a teenager and remembered the exchange that it occurred to me she obviously made that up. I knew a guy whose parents gave away his dog while he was at school. When he got home, they told him the dog ran away. The guy looked around and said, "He took his kennel and bed with him?" Outside of dumb lies your parents tell you as kids, my friend who worked at a gas station with a big food station that has some ground beef items told me they use kangaroo meat for their ground beef because it was cheaper than cow. I am gullible with my friends. That my dad moved out and rented a room in the house of a female friend for tax reasons. When my parents divorced, I didn't even know it was happening. My dad just kind of stopped coming around. At no point was I sat down and had the situation explained to me. He didn't disappear, or anything, he just stopped coming home after work and was living in a local motel for a while. I was 11 at the time. In hindsight I'm not entirely sure why my mom didn't explain what was happening, and even 30 years later, I'm still trying to piece the story together. That my parents were married. Truth is my father was, just not to my mother. The microwave will explode if I put my face too close to it while it's heating food. No, but it does explode if you heat the milk with the teaspoon inside, I can tell. I set one on fire. My mom told me when I was 5 and my favorite dog died that it doesn't matter that dogs die, because in 7 years they respawn. So I was like, oh, fine, see you then bud, I will be older and we will play again. Okay, I'm so sorry but I can't help laughing, respawn, LMAO. Man was hitting up Smash Brothers I guess. I'll fill up my car with gas before work tomorrow morning. I will do stuff like this for my fiance in a heartbeat, but if I need to fill up my own gas tank to avoid doing it tomorrow? That sounds like a problem for future me. When I was a kid my cousin convinced me for like an hour that her mom had won the lottery. I can still feel the loss of millions of dollars 2 decades later and that shit hurts bro. Why Jessica, why? It's illegal to turn on the dome light while the vehicle is moving. Turns out it's just annoying as hell. The driver is the captain. The captain makes the laws. On April Fools, while I was getting ready for school on a cold winter day, my mom told me, "School is cancelled. It's a snow day." I ran around for a good 2 minutes celebrating before she told me, "April Fools." I've never felt so betrayed in my life. You better be a mastermind supervillain by now. Exactly. That's the level of how Heinz Doofenshmirtz had been treated by his parents. That adults knew what they were doing. Maybe not all adults, but I definitely thought that adults with responsible jobs have their shit together. Then I realized they do not have their shit together at all. Which in turn makes me feel somewhat better about being an adult with a responsible job who does not have their shit together. How hard you work would be proportional to how well rewarded you would be. I'm not having an affair, my wife who was having an affair. It's not me, it's you, my ex who also was having an affair. The Tinder account was just a shared account for joking around with my friends. I never even logged in on my own. It was in fact his account which he had been using during the last 3 months of our relationship. And yes, I knew how unbelievable that sounds, but I refused to believe that the man I trusted so much would ever do this to me. If you simply put your head down, do what you're told, and work hard, things will work out. That a full career and retirement from the US Navy would guarantee me free medical. Bullies get bored if you ignore them. Ah, he likes you, he's just too shy to tell you. Sure, he's not too shy to lead his friends into harassing me and playing nasty tricks on me. That carrot's improved night vision. Damn Brits and trying to hide radar use. It will stay just between us. Parents love their children equally and unconditionally. That justice will always win. That life is fair. I mean, I knew it wasn't fair, I just didn't realize what a cruel, heartless bitch life is. My church isn't a cult. It was a cult. Church, cult, cult, church. So we get bored someplace else every Sunday. Bart Simpson. If you go to college, you'll get a good job and have a nice house. Lying 90s third grade teacher.